Fear, it's that feeling we all know. It's the sensation that rises when we stand on the edge of something new, something unknown. We've all been there, hesitant, uncertain, caught between the comfort of the familiar and the excitement of the unknown. And in that moment, fear tells us to stop, to retreat, to stay where we are. But let me tell you something. Fear is not a stop sign. It's not something that should halt your progress. It's a green light. Think about it for a moment. Every breakthrough, every great accomplishment began with fear. The fear of failure, the fear of rejection, the fear of not being good enough. But it was in facing that fear, embracing it, that people created the impossible. The greatest stories are never about those who avoided fear. They are about those who stood face to face with it and decided to keep moving forward. Fear, in its essence, is simply a signal, a sign that you are pushing beyond your limits. It's a sign that you're stretching yourself to places you've never been, doing things you've never done. And that, my friends, is where growth happens. That's where greatness is born. You know, fear often disguises itself as a voice of caution. It whispers to us that the risks are too high, that the challenge is too great, that we're not prepared. But when you push past that voice, when you refuse to let it dictate your path, you discover something incredible. You discover your true potential. Because let's be clear, the path to success, to fulfillment, to greatness, it's never a straight line. It's a winding road full of obstacles, full of doubt, full of fear. But if you learn to see fear for what it truly is, a green light, not a stop sign, you'll realize it's not something to fear at all. It's something to embrace. It's something to use as fuel for your journey. So the next time you feel fear creeping in, don't let it paralyze you. Don't let it hold you back. Fear is a natural part of growth, and it's something that every one of us will encounter on our journey to success. But here's the truth. Fear isn't something to avoid or run from. In fact, fear is a powerful indicator that you are stepping into uncharted territory where real transformation happens. When fear arises, it means you're pushing yourself beyond the limits of what's comfortable and familiar. And this, my friends, is where growth begins. Think about it. Every time you take on a new challenge, there's a sense of uncertainty. You might wonder, what if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? That's fear talking. But let's pause for a moment. Isn't it when we face these uncertainties head on that we grow the most? It's when we stretch beyond our comfort zone, when we take risks and confront the unknown, that we discover our true capabilities. Fear is a sign that you are progressing. If you were simply staying in your comfort zone, fear wouldn't show up at all. But as soon as you aim higher, take on bigger challenges, or try something unfamiliar, that's when fear comes knocking. It's not a sign to stop. It's a sign that you're moving in the right direction. Fear is the signal that you are on the verge of something great. It's a reminder that you are expanding, evolving, and becoming someone more than you were yesterday. So the next time you feel fear creeping in, don't be discouraged. Instead, take it as a positive sign. Recognize that growth, innovation, and success are waiting for you on the other side of that fear. Embrace it, because it means you are on the edge of something new, something transformative, something that will push you closer to the person you are meant to be. The greatest achievements in history have not come from those who ran from fear, but from those who embraced it. Fear is often misunderstood as a signal to stop, to pause, to rethink. But in reality, it's the very thing that marks the beginning of extraordinary breakthroughs. Think about the trailblazers, the visionaries, the people who changed the world. They didn't shy away from fear. They confronted it, wrestled with it, and turned it into a source of strength. Why? Because they understood that fear is an essential part of innovation. Every great idea, every revolutionary invention, every step forward in human history began with someone who dared to step into the unknown. And with that step came fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough. But instead of letting fear hold them back, they leaned into it. They saw it as a challenge, not an obstacle. When you're about to do something big, something that's going to change your life or the lives of others, fear will always show up. It's inevitable. But what separates the great from the ordinary is how we respond to that fear. Do we shrink away? Do we let it stop us from pursuing our dreams? Or do we use it as fuel to keep going, to keep pushing forward, even when the odds are stacked against us? Some of the most successful people in the world faced their fears head on. They didn't wait for the perfect moment or for all the conditions to be right. They took action despite their fear because they knew that without fear, there's no growth. Without fear, there's no progress. The greatest breakthroughs come not when everything is perfect, but when you take that first step into the unknown, knowing that fear is part of the process, not a sign to stop. Fear is not a barrier, it's an invitation. It invites you to do more, to be more, to break the boundaries of what you thought was possible. So the next time fear knocks at your door, don't hesitate. Fear is a signal of potential, a sign that you are about to discover something new within yourself. It's easy to think of fear as something that limits us, something that holds us back. But in reality, fear is a compass pointing us toward growth, pushing us to explore new possibilities and reach heights we've never reached before. Whenever you feel that tightness in your chest or that hesitation in your mind, that's your body telling you that you are on the verge of something great. Fear isn't the enemy, it's the reminder that you are expanding your capabilities, pushing your boundaries, and stepping into uncharted territory. When you feel fear, you are likely taking a step outside of your comfort zone. And it's precisely in these moments, in these uncomfortable, uncertain spaces, that you discover your real strength. Think about the times in your life when you faced something that frightened you. Maybe it was a big decision, a bold move, or a risk that seemed impossible. But when you took that leap, when you chose to confront that fear, something inside you clicked. You discovered parts of yourself you never knew existed. You realized that you were stronger, more capable, and more resourceful than you had ever imagined. Fear, then, is a signpost pointing directly to your potential. It tells you that you are in a place where growth is not just possible, but inevitable. If you never experience fear, you are likely playing it safe, staying within the comfortable boundaries of what you already know. But true growth happens when you step into the unknown, when you face challenges that push you to be better than you were yesterday. Fear becomes the threshold to greatness. It's an invitation to rise, to stretch your mind, to push your limits, and to discover what lies beyond the walls you've built around yourself. So when you feel fear rising, instead of retreating, lean into it. It's telling you that you're on the verge of something new. It's showing you that you are growing, evolving, and reaching for something greater. Fear is not something to avoid, it's something to embrace, because it holds the key to unlocking your fullest potential. Every time you face fear and keep moving forward, you grow stronger, wiser, and more prepared to take on the world. Fear is not a signal to stop. It's a sign that you are on the brink of discovering what you're truly capable of. Fear often masquerades as caution, trying to convince us that the risks are too great, the consequences too dire, and the challenge is too overwhelming. It whispers in our ears that it's better to stay where we are, to play it safe, to avoid the discomfort of the unknown. But here's the truth. Fear, in this form, is not an enemy. It's a signal. It's the mind's way of pointing out that you are on the brink of something new, something important, and yes, something difficult. But it's precisely these moments when fear disguises itself as caution that we must be most aware, because what it's really doing is testing us, urging us to decide whether we will rise to the occasion or shrink away. This is where the opportunity lies. The voice of fear that tells us to be careful isn't there to protect us, it's there to keep us from growing. True growth doesn't come from staying safe, staying comfortable, or playing small. It comes from taking risks, stepping into the unknown, and choosing to move forward in the face of uncertainty. When fear tells you to be cautious, it's not telling you to stop, it's pushing you to step up, to rise above your doubts, and to pursue something greater. The greatest accomplishments in history weren't achieved by people who played it safe, who waited for the perfect conditions, or who avoided fear. They were achieved by those who recognized that the voice of caution was simply a challenge to their courage, and they answered it by taking action despite the fear. The great pioneers, the innovators, the leaders, they didn't wait for a perfect moment. They didn't wait until all the risks were eliminated or all the questions were answered. They moved forward anyway, and in doing so, they unlocked possibilities beyond their wildest imaginations. So when fear shows up disguised as caution, Don't retreat. Don't let it make you doubt your ability or your worth. Understand that it's simply a call to action, a reminder that you are pushing the boundaries of what's possible. In these moments, you must see the fear for what it truly is. Not a warning to stop, but an invitation to grow, to take a leap, and to break through your own limitations. Every time you confront fear instead of retreating from it, you open the door to new opportunities, new experiences, and a version of yourself you never knew existed. Growth happens beyond fear. It's an undeniable truth. The most significant progress in our lives happens when we step into the places that make us uncomfortable, the places where fear resides. The moment you decide to push past the boundaries of what you know to face the unknown, fear will almost certainly appear. But here's the beautiful thing. It's only through confronting that fear that you unlock your true potential. It's easy to believe that comfort is the ultimate goal, but comfort doesn't lead to growth. Comfort keeps you stuck in a cycle, repeating the same patterns, never evolving. Real growth demands that you venture into the discomfort, the unfamiliar, the places where fear lurks. Think about any major turning point in your life. Whether it was a career change, a new relationship, or a personal challenge, it likely came with a dose of fear. The fear of failing, of looking foolish, of not being enough. But in that fear, you found your strength. In that discomfort, you learned things about yourself you never knew. You developed resilience, wisdom, and a deep sense of capability. Growth is rarely easy. It's not meant to be. If it were, we would never reach the heights that make life extraordinary. The moments when we stretch beyond our limits, when we feel fear in the pit of our stomachs, are the very moments that define us. Think about the most successful individuals in history. They didn't become who they were by avoiding fear. They became who they were because they walked through it again and again, knowing that beyond the fear lay the opportunity for something extraordinary. Fear is the gatekeeper to this growth. It's not something to fear. It's the signal that you are on the verge of becoming more than you ever thought possible. Every time you face fear and move through it, you shed an old version of yourself and emerge stronger, wiser, and more capable. So when fear shows up, and it will, don't let it stop you, let it push you. Let it drive you to places you've never been, to experiences you've never had, to the next chapter of your personal evolution. Fear is not a stop sign, it's a green light, telling you that you are growing, expanding, and moving closer to the person you are meant to be. It's in these moments when fear and growth go hand in hand that you discover what you are truly capable of. Embrace the fear. Success is never a straight line. It's a winding road filled with challenges, setbacks, and yes, fear. But here's the thing. Fear is part of the process. It's a companion that shows up along the way to success, not as a deterrent, but as a guide. Every successful person, every pioneer, every trailblazer has encountered fear at some point on their journey. And it's precisely because they faced that fear and didn't let it stop them that they achieved what they did. If success were simply a matter of avoiding fear or eliminating all risks, everyone would be successful. But the truth is, success is about navigating through the fear, overcoming it, and pushing forward in the face of uncertainty. The road to success is rarely clear, and it's rarely easy. There will be moments where you question your abilities, your decisions, and your path. There will be times when the fear seems overwhelming, when every instinct tells you to stop and turn back. But that's when you must remind yourself that success isn't found in the absence of fear, it's found in how you respond to it. Think about the many people who tried and failed before they succeeded. They didn't become great by avoiding fear, but by persevering through it. They embraced the uncertainty and used it to fuel their drive. They understood that the setbacks, the moments of fear, and the challenges along the way were part of what made success so valuable. Without those moments, without the struggle, success wouldn't hold the same meaning. It's the process, the journey through the fear that shapes you into someone capable of achieving great things. The truth is, the road to success is never smooth. It's not about avoiding fear. It's about learning to keep moving forward in spite of it. Success is found in the willingness to keep going even when you don't have all the answers, even when the fear seems too strong. Every time you push through, you build momentum. Every time you face fear and keep moving forward, you are one step closer to your goal. So instead of letting fear hold you back, let it propel you forward. Let it remind you that you're on the right path. Because success is waiting for you, not at the end of the road, but in the courage you show each time you step through the fear. Fear is a tool, not an obstacle. Far too often, we see fear as something that stands in our way, something that should be avoided at all costs. But the truth is, fear is a powerful resource, a tool that can push us, stretch us, and help us reach our highest potential. When we learn to understand and harness it, we don't see fear as something that holds us back. Instead, we see it as something that drives us forward, urging us to dig deeper, to be more resourceful, and to push the boundaries of what we thought was possible. Think of fear like a muscle. The more you confront it, the stronger you become. It challenges you to think differently, to innovate, to find creative solutions when things get tough. Every time you face fear, you learn something new. You discover a new strength, a new approach, or a new way of thinking that you wouldn't have found if you hadn't confronted that fear head on. Fear doesn't limit you, it expands you. It forces you to grow in ways you didn't expect, and it pushes you to become someone more than you were before. Fear forces you to make choices. It challenges you to decide whether you'll back down or whether you'll step up. And in that decision, you create your future. Every time you move forward in the face of fear, you are learning, evolving, and stepping closer to your dreams. Fear, in its essence, is a motivator. It forces you to act when you might otherwise hesitate, to take risks when you might otherwise play it safe. It brings out the best in you, urging you to rise to the occasion. When you embrace fear, you stop letting it control you. You take control of it. You use it as the fuel that propels you towards success. Fear is not an enemy to be avoided. It's a tool that, when wielded with purpose, can be incredibly powerful. The more you confront fear and use it to your advantage, the more you'll realize that it's not something to be afraid of, it's something to leverage. It's there to guide you, to shape you, and to push you to become the best version of yourself. So the next time fear appears in your life, don't shy away from it. Use it. Let it propel you forward and show you what you're really capable of. Fear is a tool, and when used right, it's the key to unlocking the greatness within you. Fear is often seen as a barrier, something that stops us in our tracks, urging us to turn back and avoid the discomfort. But fear is not a roadblock. It's a challenge. It's a challenge to become more, do more, and push further than we ever thought possible. The fact that fear is present doesn't mean you should stop. In fact, it means just the opposite. It's a sign that you're on the verge of a breakthrough, that you're about to do something that will take you to new heights, something that could change your life. We are constantly faced with choices, with moments that require us to decide whether we will move forward or remain where we are. The presence of fear is often the defining factor in that choice. It's easy to stay in familiar territory, to play it safe, to avoid the unknown. But growth doesn't happen in the familiar. Growth happens in the unknown, in the moments that make our hearts race, in the challenges that make us question everything we thought we knew. Fear doesn't signal that we should stop. It signals that we are right where we need to be to grow. Think about the people who have made lasting impacts on the world. Did they achieve greatness by playing it safe? No. They faced fear head on. They looked at the uncertainty, the risks, and the potential for failure, and they kept going anyway. They didn't wait for the fear to disappear. They moved forward in spite of it, trusting that the only way to reach something extraordinary was to push through the fear. It wasn't the absence of fear that led them to success. It was the courage to act in spite of it. Fear doesn't define your limitations. It defines your possibilities. It tells you that something amazing lies ahead, and it's up to you to decide whether you will take that first step. Every time you act in the face of fear, you expand your capacity to handle whatever life throws your way. You show yourself that you are capable of more than you thought, that you have the strength and the resilience to overcome whatever challenges lie ahead. Fear is not an obstacle to success. It's the invitation to reach for it. It's the green light telling you to go ahead, to move forward, and to embrace everything that lies beyond the fear, because when you push through it, you realize that on the other side is the version of yourself that you've always been capable of becoming. In conclusion, fear is not the enemy we've been taught to avoid. It's the very catalyst that fuels our growth, our innovation, and our ability to break through barriers. It's the signal that you are on the edge of something extraordinary, something that could change your life and the lives of those around you. The path to greatness is not free of fear. It's filled with it, but it's in the moments when fear is present that we are given the opportunity to rise, to push forward, and to unlock the untapped potential within us. Fear is not a stop sign, it's a green light, signaling that we are ready for the next step, that we are ready to face the challenges that lie ahead, and that we are ready to grow. When we stop seeing fear as something to fear, but as something to embrace, we begin to step into our true power. Fear is the reminder that we are stretching our limits, challenging our assumptions, and expanding our potential. The greatest achievements in history weren't accomplished by those who ran from fear, but by those who understood that fear is the first step toward greatness. It's the gateway to new opportunities, new ideas, and new achievements. So the next time you feel fear creeping in, don't shrink away from it. Step forward. Let fear propel you into the unknown, knowing that every challenge you face is shaping you into the person you need to be. Fear doesn't stop you. It pushes you to go further, to dream bigger, and to achieve more than you ever thought possible. Embrace it, use it, and move forward with confidence, because beyond that fear lies your fullest potential waiting for you to claim it. The green light is there. It's time to go. In conclusion, fear is not the enemy we've been taught to avoid. It's the very catalyst that fuels our growth, our innovation, and our ability to break through barriers. It's the signal that you are on the edge of something extraordinary, something that could change your life and the lives of those around you. The path to greatness is not free of fear. It's filled with it, but it's in the moments when fear is present that we are given the opportunity to rise, to push forward, and to unlock the untapped potential within us. Fear is not a stop sign, it's a green light, signaling that we are ready for the next step, that we are ready to face the challenges that lie ahead, and that we are ready to grow. When we stop seeing fear as something to fear, but as something to embrace, we begin to step into our true power. Fear is the reminder that we are stretching our limits, challenging our assumptions, and expanding our potential. The greatest achievements in history weren't accomplished by those who ran from fear, but by those who understood that fear is the first step toward greatness. It's the gateway to new opportunities, new ideas, and new achievements. So the next time you feel fear creeping in, don't shrink away from it. Step forward. Let fear propel you into the unknown, knowing that every challenge you face is shaping you into the person you need to be. Fear doesn't stop you. It pushes you to go further, to dream bigger, and to achieve more than you ever thought possible. Embrace it, use it, and move forward with confidence, because beyond that fear lies your fullest potential, waiting for you to claim it. The green light is there. It's time to go on something great. Every time you encounter fear, every time you push through it, you get one step closer to becoming the person you were meant to be. So the next time fear knocks on your door, don't run away from it. Embrace it. Move forward, because that green light is not just a signal to go. It's a signal that you are ready to go beyond what you ever thought was possible. And on the other side of that fear is everything you've ever wanted, the growth, the success, and the life you've always dreamed of.